love this weather. My wife Lonnie and I were texting this morning, and she said, I can see that it's sunny in Vallejo because it's raining in D.C. So well done, Cheeky, getting me out here. Cheeky's my aide. He always gets me home. First off, it's such an honor to be with you today. It's always great to break away from the hallowed halls of the Pentagon. Particularly special today to be here in my hometown of Vallejo. A city that so clearly values their military and the service American military members and their families have made throughout history. So we're gathered here today to pay tribute to the heroes walking among you in the city of Vallejo who selflessly served our nation. But before I begin, I would be remiss if I did not say thanks to all those who have coordinated this ceremony and who have planned many over the years. Specifically, I want to thank Mr. Nestor Aliga and his better half, Vice Mayor Aliga, for the countless hours they put forth of putting this together. More importantly, crowbarring me out of the Pentagon so I could come visit my hometown and visit my family. So I'm humbled and honored to stand in front of everyone, in front of so many great Americans and heroes of our nation who paved the way for me. This morning I want to talk a little bit about Vallejo, service, and of course, our veterans. Three things I think we're meant to reflect on this great day. So Vallejo. I was born and raised and grew up in Vallejo, and as a young kid, I'd walk the waterfront right here, looking across Mare Island Strait to the Mare Island Naval Shipyard and those sleek black things that just hover right over the water called submarines. Now, I never thought at that time that I would be good enough to join the silent service of the United States Submarine Force. And in truth, I may have never made it to where I am today if it was not for the phenomenal parents that I had, my sisters who taught me because I had no brothers, so they had to keep me on the straight and narrow, my teachers, school administrators, and mentors that I had from this great city. Specific calls out to two individuals who got me through the tough times of Vallejo Public Schools when I was bullied, and that's Joy Perseveranda Putong, my best friend from middle school into high school, and her older brother, J.F.R. Perseveranda. All that stuff you did, look at me now. So luckily, this city looked out for me and put me on the right path to apply for and be accepted into the United States Naval Academy. Again, a product of Vallejo Public Schools. Then, fast forward to not only joining the Navy, but being a lieutenant on board a nuclear-powered fast attack submarine, the USS Los Angeles, that was being overhauled, say it with me, at Mare Island Naval Shipyard from 1993 to 1995. It is then that I recognized firsthand the phenomenal capability of the men and women here in Vallejo who worked in the shipyard that was able to repair that national defense asset and get us out of the shipyard early. You never hear that. You would never hear about that nowadays. And I could not, at the time, have been more proud of my hometown in being able to do that. And as I walk around Vallejo today and see all the people gathered here to recognize these veterans, I feel completely awestruck by the continued support of the military and our veterans from the city of Vallejo. You understand that the sacrifices these young men and women made throughout history have not only given us the freedom to come together like this, but they have given people like me a chance to serve our great country as well. The individuals you honor have given something up for all of us, and it's truly inspiring. And I know you too have been inspired because this year's tribute is one of the biggest there's ever been to date, with multiple events throughout the day that will have nearly 1,000 people in attendance. I understand a little later this afternoon, Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, the first Purple Heart Park on the West Coast, will open the park to all veterans with free admission and pay tribute to the military. What a sight that will be to behold today. Now let's talk a little bit about service. I know I don't have to tell anyone here the importance of service to our country. And I don't just mean military service. There are so many other ways to serve our community and our great nation to give back. The more we serve our communities, the more we encourage the next generation to do the same thing. Now, my service has afforded me so many incredible opportunities, not the least of which is being here with you today. Throughout my 32 years in the Navy, I have commanded USS Charlotte, fast attack submarine out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, served as Commodore on Submarine Development Squadron 12, leading 9 fast attack submarines that deployed in the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean, as well as the Pacific, and becoming, my current job, the Chief of Legislative Affairs for the Secretary of the Navy and the Chief of Naval Operations. Before this job, I was blessed to have commanded Submarine Group 7 in Yokosuka, Japan, in charge of all submarine operations in the Western Pacific and the Indian Ocean. So think Russia, China, and Iran. I've completed 3 overseas deployments in the Pacific as well as the Indian Ocean, and 5 strategic deterrent patrols in the Atlantic. So it's not lost on me that many of these opportunities came as a result of those who paved the way. Not just those that I mentioned from the city of Vallejo, but also those who served that I may have never known, which is why I want to spend my last minutes talking about them, our veterans. So when I was in Vallejo last month, I had the incredible opportunity to link up with the submarine veterans of American Legion Post 550 and share stories about their time in the service. From one person to the next, I heard of adversities, but also of harrowing moments of pride in their time serving in the Navy. There were stories of sacrifice, but also of lives well lived. Now, Captain Holly Harrison, thank you for sharing your story and remarks with us today. I love the fact that you have a connection to the submarine force. And thank you for your service in protecting this great Bay Area. And like I told you earlier, I'm a little jealous that you get to live and work in Alameda, just overlooking the bay. And there's another veteran story that I want to share with you. His story is special to me and to the United States Navy. It is the story of Fireman Telesforo de la Cruz Trinidad, the only Filipino in the United States Navy to be awarded the Medal of Honor. He received the honor for his actions on the USS San Diego in 1915, and at a time when it could be awarded for non-combat valor. You see, Trinidad, who died in 1968 at age 77, was aboard the USS San Diego in January 1915 when the boilers exploded, killing 9 and injuring several others. And at the time of the explosion, Trinidad was driven out of fire room number 2 by the force of the blast. But he at once returned and picked up Fireman Second Class Daly, whom he saw to be injured, and proceeded to bring him out. While passing into fire room number 4, Trinidad was just in time to catch the explosion from the number 3 fire room, and without consideration of his own safety, and although badly burned about the face, he passed Daly onto someone else and then assisted in rescuing another injured man from fire room number 3. Telesforo Trinidad was among the more than 250,000 Filipino soldiers who served in both world wars. But he is the first and only to have been awarded the Medal of Honor. And earlier this year, my boss, Secretary of the Navy Carlos Del Toro, announced that Telesforo Trinidad will be the first American of Filipino descent to have a U.S. Navy ship named after him, a future Arleigh-Burke-class guided missile destroyer. Now, his story is for the history books, and one that I'm proud to share with all of you gathered here today. But there are many other stories from our veterans that will not be written down. And as a child, I was fortunate to hear from those stories from my father and my stepfather, both who served. My charge to you gathered here today is to seek them out and listen. And I guarantee they will inspire you and others for generations to come. Now, in closing, I want to thank you, Vallejo, for your unyielding support for our service members and your military. Your Navy is grateful to have you. You are the reason we get underway and go far from home for 6 months at a time on deployment to carry out our nation's missions in defense of our great country. And to all the veterans, active duty and reserve service members here, thank you for your service. I know I stand on the shoulders of giants, such as Ray, part of the greatest generation, and I'm humbled and grateful to be part of today's ceremony. For the leaders of Vallejo, thank you for continuing to believe in this great city that has inspired generations of children to serve their country. Every day, those of us in uniform continue to serve. We are reminded of and grateful for all of you who have made our service possible. God bless you. God bless our United States veterans, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.